2024 CrossFit Games in event number 2. I'm Chase Ingram with Adrian Conway and Mike Arsenault. Your standings after one day of competition: Jelle Hoste, 100 points, followed by Brent Fikowski and Roman Krennikov with that 3.5-mile run, 800-meter swim yesterday. And you thought it started off well yesterday for Jelle Hoste. Not a bad way to start off day number 2.
That's right. Midline climb involves 50 deadlifts, 3 rope climbs, 50 ski-erg calories, 3 rope climbs, 50 GHD sit-ups, 3 rope climbs, and then they're turning around and doing the about face all the way through the finish with another 50 deadlifts to finish at 225.
We've seen this 7 times already, but how are your go-ruck steps to success?
Man, it's paced early and the race late, and it's tried and true throughout what we've seen from all the other heats. They've got to have control to start and urgency to finish. And it's midline madness between the 100 deadlifts at 225, the rope climbs, the GHDs, and the ski-erg. This is going to tax the midline.
Your lane assignments for heat number 4. Your top athletes coming out of event number 1, Jelle Hoste in lane number 6. And just to his side in lane number 5 will be the lane reserved for Lazar Jukic. But Jelle Hoste, who got 10th last year as a rookie, has, we said it before, has very Fikowski-like early career home run potential where he can get event wins depending on the event. And Brent Fikowski is in this one with him. It's a battle on the chippers.
Stand by.
4th and final heat underway for the individual men. 50 deadlifts at 225 to start things off, advancing the bar every 10 reps. Roman Krennikov, who last year 3rd place after breaking his foot with 2 events left to go, was one of those athletes that was in contention to take the leader jersey. Now, we heard 2 heats ago that your 2023 individual male champ, Jeff Adler, has opted out of competing this year after the events that happened yesterday in event number 1. And you can't have a chipper without bringing up Brent Fikowski, who, for the length of his career, and he looked at the number of times he's won, chippers are his bread and butter.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Brent does very, very well, but pacing is one of them, and his overall work capacity is extremely elite. He's great at hinging, which we see put on display with 225 here at the deadlift. We're going to start and finish here. He's great at rope climbs, Chase. He's got a phenomenal ability on ergs to push and keep threshold paces throughout. So it's going to play out very well for Brent against the field, and it's almost regardless of what these men do around him to his left and to his right.
And just to his left, you have Ricky Garrard, who's back in competition for the first time since 2022, where he took 3rd place. Missed last year. Was one of those athletes who had at the top of the leaderboard potentially at the CrossFit Games, a mountain bike incident where he separated his shoulder before semifinals, took him out of competition. As you see, Brent Fikowski and Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson onto the rope climbs, and I just saw a no rep happen, which is just brutal when it comes to rope climbs.
Saxon Panchik there, 9 chipping away at his climbs.
Here comes Saxon Panchik.
Onto the ski-erg.
It is 1 Fikowski, 2 Panchik, 3 Krennikov, and then here comes a wave of fitness behind them. All of them taking into 50 calories here on the concept 2.
Very stoic look there by Brent. Again, all intentional. You see him even closing his eyes. This is the way that he chooses to reserve as much energy, keep his stress levels as low as possible, so it's going to give him an opportunity to hit the gas pedal later in this workout when he really needs to.
Brent Fikowski working through 50 cals, different cadence there. Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson, first on the stage at the CrossFit Games in 2014, has qualified for 11 consecutive CrossFit Games alongside Cole Sager, who we saw earlier. He has 2 event wins, one of them being Murph in 2015. Stood at the podium twice. Third place.
I remember that Murph well in 2015.
Yes, you do.
He was one of the people just out of my reach there in that event. But we talk about BKG, man. He's a silent assassin. Again, one of the athletes that's notable for just kind of moving in silence, but he's constantly here. He's constantly at the top. Certainly one of the fittest men in history as we watch him work through these ski ergs. Now, he's got a pretty unique stroke style. Pretty short when it comes to the amount of flexion that he's put his trunk through, but very fast with the stroke rate. We'll see how fast this gets him off to the 50 calories.
James Sprague was a rookie last year at the CrossFit Games. He competed in the team division for 2 years prior to making it individually. Had heartbreak the previous year, missing out by 1 point. It is his second appearance at the CrossFit Games. An athlete that has the capability to do well in an event like this as well.
That's right. We think about Brent Fikowski, we think about Jelle Hosta, we think about James Sprague. It's like there's a particular body type and a particular style of fitness that they all carry that's very synonymous. And I think we're going to see that here on display in event number 2. James is one of those athletes that physically is trying to get bigger and stronger to fill out his frame, because on a chipper like this, he's going to be able to accelerate his ability to pull away from the field, but it's in some other events that he's going to need to strengthen his weakness.
Jelle Hosta has moved back up to challenge Brent Fikowski after that 50 cal on the ski. And what a treat it is to see two athletes that have just such similar backgrounds coming in, such similar abilities in comparison, and now here they are, side by side at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I love the mentality that Jelle brings to the sport in general. I had an opportunity to interview him, and his intensity and focus and attention to detail, he's changed his life over the last year tremendously. He never really expected Chase to be a full-time athlete, and now he's got that opportunity. He's in this all-out, full-time, and it's really paying off, and I think clearly even his ability to focus and execute at a high level yesterday in event 1 put that on display.
Sounds like he's more all in than the Dallas Cowboys are this year. Brent Fikowski to Jelle Hosta's left, our right. You see Brent Fikowski in the arm sleeves. We haven't seen anybody have that out here in just the smaller wraps around the knees. What's the thought process on that?
You know, again, Brent is a vet. This could be choices that are based on what makes him feel comfortable. Maybe he really likes some pressure around his knees to make them feel better, because clearly we're not squatting here, but there's sometimes even tension in that quad tendon just above the kneecap when we do GHD sit-ups, so this should all be preventative for that.
Brent Fikowski known for just being so meticulous in the way he approaches things. And what's a CrossFit Games without a pan check in the field? Saxon Pancheck. It's his 6th appearance here at the CrossFit Games. His best finish is 5th. That was back in 2021. Saxon Pancheck back at the CrossFit Games, missed last year, did not qualify out of semifinals, had an injury last year at semifinals, so it's good to see him back.
Getting hands in the air here, Chase. This is that point in the event that we talked about. You're going to pace early, and you're really going to race late. We saw it from Dallin Pepper, Jason Hopper, and Justin Medeiros in the last heat, where this is where you got to turn it on. This is where you got to be willing to be uncomfortable, and I have a feeling Jelle Hosta is very prepared to do just that.
Jelle Hosta, Roman Krennikov, Brent Fikowski, James Sprague. All athletes are 6 foot or over. Jelle Hosta standing at 6'3", Fikowski just behind him, and James Sprague. And you think about, we've got 15 rope climbs in this event. These are going to 18 feet here in the middle on the Zeus rig. You wouldn't think height is an advantage when you think, okay, we've got cycling on a GHD for 100 reps, on a deadlift for 100 reps. Skier, different story. A lot of cool balance in here just from body type alone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I look at this event as a whole, and it certainly favors those athletes with longer frames and longer arms. I mean, it shortens the distance for the GHD sit-ups, and as long as they've got the flexibility in their posterior to touch that barbell to the ground on the deadlifts, it also acts as an advantage there.
Your leader, Jelle Hosta, in the red leader shorts. As we are just approaching the 8-minute mark, the time to beat is still Pat Vellner's time of 14:14. Vellner made the turn at 7:04, yet no one has been able to sustain the pace he kept on the back half, which goes to your steps to success.
Yeah, and that's what matters, right? It's not about how fast you start, it's about how fast you finish. Pat was able to sustain an absolute blistering pace on the GHDs specifically. It was a place where he set himself apart. We just see Brent, who actually just stepped out of his GHD for one reason or the other. It could have been planned, but that's going to be costly in regards to time because it's just a steady clip, almost 1 second per rep that you can account for these, and once you step out of that rhythm, it's hard to make up.
And in the midst of all this, it's still the reality of that empty lane.
Yeah.
To pay tribute to Lazar Jukic, who we lost tragically yesterday in event number 1. As the real world tends to creep in and remind us of the harsh reality of times, and Lazar Jukic honored in that empty lane 5 in these last few heats. Hand in the air for Yellow Hosta in the center part of your lane. Hand in the air for James Sprague. Hosta, Sprague. Rep for rep, Sprague is off first.
What a move by James Sprague there. Clearly cycling his GHDs faster than the field.
Had a quick move there. One thing I've noticed a little bit from these taller athletes, and Sprague did the same thing, and I've seen it from Fikowski, but not jumping on the first pull.
Yeah, it's just almost undue. It's unnecessary. When you think about jumping on the first pull, it's extremely valuable when there's not a ton of rope climbs. When there's several, like there is in this event, Chase, what it can do is just spike your heart rate and fatigue your legs. When it really doesn't minimize much distance that you have to travel. It's better to get up quick than it is to get up high.
James Sprague, Yellow Hosta. Both rookies last year at the CrossFit Games in 2023. Roman Krennikov, your third place finisher in 2023, is now moved into third. 50 cals on the ski. You look at the left side, that digital board reading 55. When they get to 100, that'll be their 50 cal mark on the back half of this event.
We see a lot of different things playing in, but Hosta's got a bit of a different setup, Chase. That staggered stance position is something that I've played with and encourage a lot of the athletes that I work with to play with. It seems to give your lower back and trunk a bit of a different stimulus than you've just done so many things. The deadlift, the rope climb, the GHD, all build fatigue in a very specific way, and somehow the staggered stance almost creates leverage into the back leg, makes your body feel a little heavier, which gives you some good leverage to pull into. So I'm interested to see how long he sustains this, or if he switches his feet. Yeah, it might be something that he actually goes back and forth, switching from right to left periodically.
It just saw him switch that stance, and you'll see it on the rower a lot. It's like, okay, do I push my knees out when I row? Do I have them in? Do I have a short stroke? Do I have a long stroke? And this split stance might be something, as you said, to help just navigate your way through the 50 cals on the ski. We are on the back third of individual event number 2, mid-blind climb, as all athletes are chasing Yellow Hosta and James Sprague, who got to the ski erg at the exact same time. Yellow Hosta skied a 2:09 split on the first 50, where Sprague was a 2:30.
Wow.
Now we know all too well that the back half is a different story than the front half, but it looks like Hosta has opened up a 5 cal lead on James Sprague.
Yeah, and this is where the rubber meets the road, for lack of a better comparison, as we see the look on Brent Fikowski's face on the right, a very different appearance than what we saw on the way going out. The intensity is up, and these athletes are ready to fight second for second.
Yellow Hosta picking up where he left off. And you look at the backside, right side of your screen, is that little double stroke we see from Brent Fikowski. And that's just a Fikowski thing.
Yeah.
The wall ball shot, the arm slings, the leg clamp on the legless half climb. Like that's just Brent Fikowski personified right in front of us. Yellow Hosta's done. On to the deadlift. James Sprague and Roman Krennikov trying to keep pace, but it looks like the race is between Yellow Hosta and the clock. Just past the 13-minute mark, upper left corner of your screen, the time to beat. Pat Vellner from Heat 1, 14:14:05.
And if yesterday's performance is any sign of awareness, Yellow Hosta is more than aware of what's going on with the clock around him. Getting a chance to maybe even be akin to what Kiki's announcing as the floor announcer, you know, just having that awareness to hear, how far am I from the lead? Do I have a chance?
The only thing Yellow Hosta needs to look at is the clock right ahead of him, because that's the only thing that's keeping pace with him at the moment. Although James Sprague is looking to try to push that pace as we are slowly approaching the 14-minute mark. And it looks like it's going to stand. Pat Vellner is going to keep the time to beat. And it is much needed after a 33rd place finish. So Vellner will get his 8th CrossFit Games win, but look out for James Sprague in lane number 2.
He is on his way. His cycle rate at the top. We got some pausing at the top from Yellow Hosta. James is cycling his reps faster and faster every time he pushes his bar forward.
Sprague is getting stronger. Hosta slowing down. Karenikov takes a break, and it is all James Sprague as he rolls his bar into his final section, and Yellow Hosta is just trying to get to that finish line. As you see James Sprague take a quick break, looking over to his left to see where Hosta is, coming up to the 15-minute mark. James Sprague will take one more break, and James Sprague will take the heat. Yellow Hosta. 5 reps left to go. Brent Fikowski to his right, trying to keep pace. Ricky Garrard's in the back. We haven't mentioned him at all in this heat, as Hosta will finish, and when the posterior goes, it doesn't come back.
That's it. That was top speed right there to finish that one.
Set of athletes, who's going to finish first? Karenikov with 5 more reps to go. 2 more reps to go.
Brent Fikowski is trying to chase down Karenikov, but not enough time, as Karenikov will grit across the finish line just underneath that 16-minute mark, and here comes Brent Fikowski. Saxon Panchek's trying to hold off Chris Ibarra, who's on the other side of the floor. Chris Ibarra in lane number 1. Trying to run down Saxon Panchek. Couple of reps left for both. But it'll be Saxon Panchek just ahead of Ibarra. And it's BKG and Ricky Garrard. Final 10 reps. Ricky will break, BKG will break. Ricky will get the bar off just ahead of BKG. But Bjorven Carl Goodmanson will finish just ahead of Ricky Garrard, as we have one athlete left onto the floor. And that's Ruan Potgieter out of South Africa.
Yeah, and Ruan, he's gonna have time, man. He's got just under 3 minutes here to grind away at these deadlifts. I'm gonna tell you, Chase, he looked like he was in no hurry to get there. You know, he really did belt up, and you can tell it's not one of those movements he's really pumped to get to, but the cavalry's gonna be there to help him get through it, though.
If you made a top 3 list of the top 3 things I would not want to do to finish an event, 50 deadlifts at 225 takes all 3 of those spots.
Got it.
Ruan Potgieter, qualified out of the Africa Regional, only getting 1 spot out of their semifinal.
Listen, that's why we make a good team, man, because I'm picking the 225.
I know you all day.
I've been trying to cook through that thing like James Sprague just did. You swim out deadlift.
Deal. 2 minutes left, 30 reps to go. There's events you'll see at the CrossFit Games where you feel like when you get there on Monday morning at the affiliate, all of a sudden event 2 is programmed there for that group class. There's just ones that come on paper that you don't want to do, but you kind of want to do. I feel like this is one of those events.
This is one of those events. Again, it's so much of the beauty of what we are putting on display here this week is these workouts can be applied directly at the affiliate. You can do them in your garage. You might not be able to do it as prescribed. Of course, you're scaling the load, you're scaling the volume, which means reducing some of the reps and the work. But that's the beauty in this sport, and that's why it is loved the way it's loved, is that we're doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, maybe at just a bit of a higher level. The same by kind, but to a different degree.
Oh, everything in this community is earned. Fitness being the great equalizer, but the thing that bind us together, it's a community. We think it is an important thing to be here in the time at which we are here. 10 reps left. 30 seconds to go. Crowd doing everything they can to get him there.
Oh yeah, this is why you love it. Come on, Ruan. Yes.
James Sprague takes the heat. He'll be 7th overall in the event. That'll be a second 7th place finish, building off event number 1. As you see Yellow Hosta coming out here to start the event.
Yeah, Yellow kicked us off by, of course, honoring Lazar. Brent did what Brent does. He started off with a very methodical pace, like he usually does as the professor. But it was Yellow Hosta who took a very strong charge toward the midpoint of the event. James Sprague in and out of those GHD sit-ups was really able to close the gap and become a threat at that point. And then it was a mishap just like this for Yellow that cost him a few seconds. But James Sprague, it was all him on the back half of these 50 deadlifts at 225 that he cycled as if it was 135 pounds. He was able to come across with a heat win. That's 2 back-to-back 7 places for James Sprague.
Athletes holding up an L for Lazo. Overall results from individual men, event number 2, Pat Vellner does it. He gets first place out of the first heat and a much needed 100 points to move into the 3rd event of the day. Let's go down to Mike Arsenault, who's with our heat winner, James Sprague.
James, through 2 events, 2 top 10 finishes.